Flow, my friend, is more than just a passing phenomenon. It is a universal language of peak performance and profound joy that every one of us has the capacity to speak. From the sharpshooter aiming with laser focus to the executive making game-changing decisions, flow is the thread that binds exceptional achievements. Flow is our master tool, our secret weapon in crafting extraordinary experiences and outcomes from ordinary moments. Welcome to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, where we explore the keys to unlocking your full potential and living your best life. I'm your host, Jose Johnson. Whether you're looking to make a breakthrough, overcome a challenge, or simply live with greater clarity, joy, and purpose, you'll find the tools and inspirations you need right here. So let's start your journey towards personal mastery and growth right now. Welcome back to the Personal Mastery and Growth Podcast, your go-to resource for practical tips, insightful research, and inspiring stories to help you unlock your full potential. I'm your host, Jose Johnson, and I am an expert in mindfulness, mindset, and peak performance, and I am so thrilled to have you with me today. And today, we're wading into deep waters as we look into the mesmerizing world of flow states. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you're going to want to ride this wave every day. So what is flow? Well, it's not just the name of that quirky woman on the insurance commercials. It is a scientifically measurable state of optimal experience and performance that transcends cultures and professions. If you've ever been so engrossed in an activity that you lost all sense of time and self, or when everything you do seems to become almost effortless, then you've experienced flow. It's that in the zone feeling where everything clicks. And if you're wondering, yes, this happens to me quite often, especially when I'm immersed in performing music, practicing martial arts, working with a life coaching client, and especially now when I'm working on this podcast. Flow is a peak performance level, and it's not just confined to artists or athletes. Whether you're a programmer, a painter, or even a parent, flow is the secret sauce that makes good turn into something absolutely amazing. Now, we owe much of our understanding to flow to the brilliant Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the father of flow, who unfortunately recently passed away. And today, as we explore the beauty of this concept, we want to remember and thank him for his invaluable contributions. So what led him to this profound discovery? Well, his quest began with a simple question. What makes people truly happy? And through meticulous research and countless interviews with athletes, musicians, artists, and even members of a Japanese motorcycle gang, he began to unravel a pattern. These people, during their peak performances, described experiences where their work just seemed to flow out of them almost effortlessly. This revelation led Csikszentmihalyi to coin the term flow state. His groundbreaking book from 1990, Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience, is built on the foundation that happiness isn't static. It's not merely a product of external factors, but a dynamic state of being that we can influence. And the key? Introducing more flow experiences into our lives. Csikszentmihalyi eloquently described flow as a state in which people are so involved in an activity that nothing else seems to matter. The experience is so enjoyable that people will continue to do it, even at great cost, for the sheer sake of doing it. Now think about that for a moment. The ability to be so engrossed, so passionate about something, that everything else just fades away. Now, doesn't that sound like something that you want to experience more of? But flow isn't just a feeling. It has 6 core psychological characteristics. Now, you can think of these as the 6 strings on a guitar. Each plays its role to produce a soul-stirring melody. Let's start by delving deeper into the heart of flow by exploring these characteristics. And trust me, this is much more fascinating than it sounds. Number 1, complete concentration. The first signpost on our flow journey is complete concentration. You become utterly engrossed in what you're doing with no room for distractions. Everything else fades into the background, leaving only you and the task at hand. Number 2, merger of action and awareness. Now, here's where things get really interesting. In a flow state, you become both the doer and the observer. Now, I've experienced this many times during musical performances or martial arts demonstrations. It's as if I could watch myself from an outside perspective, but I was still in control. And it's not an eerie feeling, it is exceptionally enlightening. Number 3, sense of self vanishes. In flow, that nagging inner critic tends to hush up. We shed the negative self talk and doubts that often hold us back. This results in an almost meditative state where we're free from self imposed limitations and truly open to possibilities. This leads to what some people describe as a sense of oneness. In the deepest states of flow, you feel a profound connection with everything around you. Surfers will often say that they feel one with the wave. Meditators feel like they become one with the universe. It's a sublime moment where boundaries blur and the ego evaporates. Number 4, an altered sense of time or time dilation. Now, time is a funny thing in flow. It either seems to race by or drags on indefinitely. I remember hearing stories about baseball players saying that they could see the stitches on a fastball because everything slowed down for them when they were in the zone. But for many of us, time seems to fly. Ever been so engrossed in a task, thinking only minutes have passed, only to realize that hours flew by? Well, that's flow playing tricks with time. Number 5, the paradox of control. Flow gives you a sense of control, even over things you think are uncontrollable. But it's not about changing the external factors, but feeling so prepared, so skilled, that nothing can throw you off course. Number 6, autotelic experience. Now, let's dive into this term a little bit because it is a mouthful. Autotelic is the idea that the activity itself is the reward. It's not about the applause at the end of the performance or the accolades after a project. It's about the pure joy of doing. Now, this podcast, for instance, is an autotelic experience for me. It's about the journey, the exploration, and the sheer love of sharing. Now that we've delved into the characteristics of flow, it's time to understand how we can create the ideal environment for it. Now, can we watch TV eating chips and enter a flow state? Probably not, because as science suggests, flow thrives in active engagement. And additionally, Csikszentmihalyi emphasizes that while flow-inducing activities can range from painting to rock climbing, the core experience is constant. So, what's the recipe for achieving flow? Let's explore the 3 essential ingredients. First, you need to have clear goals and progress. The activity you're engaging in must have a distinct structure and direction. Now, just think about it. If you don't know where you're going, how can you lose yourself in the journey? Having clear goals allows our minds to align our actions with our intentions, making the path to flow smoother. Next, we need to have immediate and clear feedback. Have you ever been engrossed in a video game or a sport? One reason might be the continuous feedback loop. You make a move, and you instantly see the results. This immediate feedback allows us to adapt, refine, and perfect our performance, keeping us firmly within the flow state. And finally, balance between challenges and skills. Now, this is a big one. The task at hand should be challenging enough to engage us, but not so challenging that it overwhelms our skills. It's like walking a tightrope. If it's too easy, we get bored. If it's too hard, we get anxious. But when we get the balance just right, we can dance on that rope all day. An interesting viewpoint suggests that these conditions are deeply interconnected. So, for example, to truly sense the balance between challenges and skills, clear goals and effective feedback are essential. So, in essence, aligning our perceived demands with our skills is a central key to unlocking the flow experience. All right, so let's delve into another facet of flow that's equally riveting, the spectrum of flow. Now, when people think about flow, they often picture it as an all or nothing experience. But like many things in life, there are nuances to it. So there are two types of flow, microflow and macroflow. Microflow is when you experience a short burst of wow, while macroflow is a life-altering whoa dude experience. Now, let's start with microflow. This is the most common type of flow experience. In microflow, many of the 6 core characteristics are present, but they might not be intensely pronounced. Maybe you're engrossed in sewing or you're lost in creating a social media post. You're definitely in the zone, but not necessarily at the peak of it. So think of microflow as the daily doses of flow that we get from routine activities where we find joy and focus. Now let's talk about macroflow. Now I want you to imagine that every single characteristic of flow is not only present, but it's dialed up to its maximum. It's intense, overpowering, and all-consuming. This is where those quasi-mystical experiences come into play, moments where we transcend our usual limits and achieve the seemingly impossible. Now, a perfect example of this is the legendary basketball player Michael Jordan. It was in Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals, where he was battling not just the opposing team, but also what seemed to be the flu. Well, later it was revealed to be food poisoning. He was an unstoppable force of nature on the court. Then he'd be seen almost collapsing on the bench, only to rise again and dazzle the audience and frustrate his opponents. That, my friend, was macro flow in its purest form. It's when our abilities skyrocket beyond what's expected or even feasible. I can't stress this enough. Both micro and macro flow are valuable. While macro flow moments might stand out more due to their sheer intensity, it's those consistent micro flow experiences that often enrich our daily lives. So here's a question for you. When was the last time you experienced micro or macro flow? Perhaps it was just now as you tuned into our discussion. Or maybe it was during a creative endeavor or a deep meditation session. Remember, flow is not exclusive. It's accessible, waiting for us to tap into its boundless energy. Flow is not just a figment of our imagination. It is a scientifically measurable state of optimal experience. Now, I promise to demystify the mystical and simplify the scientific, so let's geek out for just a moment. When we're in flow, there are distinct changes in our brain activity. First, the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain responsible for self-awareness, conscious decision-making, and impulse control, becomes less active through a process called transient hypofrontality. It's like the brain's command center goes on a little mini vacation. This explains why in flow, our sense of time often distorts and our self-awareness fades. We become immersed in the here and now, allowing for heightened concentration and performance. This shift allows us to move more fluidly and make decisions more efficiently. Research also shows that our brains shift gears when we're in flow. Now, there are 5 major brainwave states that we experience. Our brain typically operates in the beta state during our day-to-day consciousness. It's our working brainwave. Now, as we transition into a flow state, our brainwaves slow down into the alpha state. That's a bridge between our conscious and subconscious mind. And this state is often associated with relaxation, daydreaming, and even light meditation. But the magic intensifies as we dive deeper into the theta state, a space of deep relaxation and meditation where creativity and insight flourish. However, the pinnacle of flow happens when our brains make a quantum leap from theta to gamma, the fastest frequency and the brainwave responsible for sudden insights and high-level information processing. And it's not a gradual shift, but a swift transition, sort of like an intellectual epiphany. In addition, fMRI studies show that when we're in flow, there's an increase in activity between different areas of the brain that typically don't communicate. It's kind of like having a brainstorming session where departments that don't usually collaborate suddenly start sharing ideas. This enhanced connectivity might be the reason we can link abstract concepts and come up with innovative solutions during flow. Now, let's talk about the neurochemistry of flow. Flow isn't just about which parts of the brain are active or inactive. It's also about the cocktail of neurochemicals that are released. And hey, who doesn't love the recipe for a good cocktail? During flow, the brain treats us to a delightful mix of 5 main neurochemicals. The first is dopamine, often called the molecule of motivation or the reward molecule. Dopamine boosts our mood and our motivation. It makes us feel great and helps in heightening our focus. Next up is serotonin. Now, this is the feel-good neurotransmitter. When serotonin levels are high, we feel more content, happier, and more emotionally stable. Next, we're going to add to the mix endorphins. And endorphins are the body's natural painkillers. They can create feelings of euphoria. You can think about this as the runner's high that many athletes experience. Number 4 on our list is anandamide. Now, this neurotransmitter plays a role in increasing lateral thinking, which is essential for creativity. Its name comes from the Sanskrit word ananda, which means bliss, highlighting its role in producing feelings of happiness. And concluding our mix is norepinephrine. Norepinephrine sharpens our focus and attention, allowing us to zone in on the task at hand. Now, with this mix swirling around, it's no wonder the flow state feels so fantastic and is so productive. It is a potent blend that not only makes us feel good, but also optimizes our brain's performance. Now that you have a little more understanding about how flow works, it's time for the million-dollar question. How do you get flow to work for you? Now, I know we've dived deep into the scientific intricacies of flow, and trust me, I can talk about neurotransmitters and brainwaves all day, but I'm also aware that what you really want is to ride that flow wave. So let's discuss a couple of practical exercises that you can try. And as promised, we're going to turn that mystical into the achievable. The first way is through smiling meditation. Now, you might be thinking, hey, Coach Jose, you're asking me to smile to get in the flow? That's it? Just bear with me. When you smile, your brain releases specific neurotransmitters, dopamine, endorphins, and serotonin. And we just talked about the importance of those a few moments ago. So the simple act of smiling can help you tap into the mini flow state, boosting your mood and focus. Plus, it's a simple way to brighten your day. So here's how you do it. Find a comfortable seat, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Now, slowly bring a gentle smile to your face. And to do this, think of something heartwarming or a moment that you felt truly joyful or grateful. Now, maintain this smile and focus on the sensation it brings. Feel the subtle lift in your cheeks, the softening of your eyes, and the warmth spreading across your face. Breathe in the positivity the smile brings and exhale any negativity. And simply continue this for a few minutes. Exercise number 2 is panoramic vision. Now, here's another interesting trick borrowed from the realm of martial arts and backed up by science. Using our vision in a certain way can actually influence our brain states. Now, this exercise helps induce a state of expansive awareness, often associated with alpha and theta brainwaves. Martial artists have used this technique to remain alert in their surroundings, but for our purpose, it can help us slip into a relaxed flow-like state. Plus, it gives a whole new meaning to seeing the big picture. So here's how you do it. You stand or sit in place with a relatively open view. And keeping your head level, gently soften your gaze instead of focusing on a single specific point. You want to try and take in the entire panorama in front of you. So to do this, start by expanding your vertical field of vision by trying to see as much of the floor as possible without moving your head. Expand that upwards to be able to see the ceiling and the floor. Now, start to expand your vision peripherally, trying to see as much to your sides as possible. Notice the things at the edge of your sight, both left and right. And just continue doing this for a few minutes. Let go of the urge to focus on specifics and instead drink in the entirety of the scene. And my third tip for you is the 90-second reset. Now, if you want to tap into the power of your brainwaves, try doing my go-to exercise to shift your mindset. It's called the 90-second reset. All you need to do is breathe deeply and slowly for about 90 seconds. Now, what this does is downshifts your brain from the hypervigilant sympathetic nervous system, or fight, flight, or freeze mode, to our more relaxed parasympathetic nervous system. Slowing your respiration rate to 3 to 4 cycles per minute not only reduces stress and brings you into the present moment, but it also shifts your brainwave states from the beta range into the alpha and even theta ranges. And as I've already mentioned, if you want to get that burst of gamma, that's the trademark of flow, you have to be in that border between alpha and theta. So if you want step-by-step instructions on how to do the 90-second reset, just go to josejohnson.com/90 seconds, and the link is also in the show notes. Here's another tip to get into flow on demand. Try to prime your flow experience. Research by Teresa Amabile from Harvard University indicates that the effects of flow can last up to 3 days. This is what I like to refer to as the concept of flow begets flow. Once you're in a flow state, it's infinitely easier to get into another flow state. So when you need to get into the flow for a major task, prime your flow pump by engaging in a fun flow-generating activity a few hours before. So, for example, if you need to do a killer presentation at work in the afternoon, channel your inner Michael Jordan and play a hard game of hoops in the morning. Or maybe zen yourself out with 15 to 20 minutes of Tai Chi practice before heading to work. Now let's talk about the empirical power of flow. The incredible benefits of flow aren't just based on anecdotal experience or theoretical musings. Hard data from reputable institutions underscore just how influential and transformative this state can be. So let's look at a couple of compelling studies that highlight flow's power. And let's start with the Department of Defense's study on learning acceleration. One of the most groundbreaking studies on the impact of flow comes from the U.S. Department of Defense. They were interested in accelerating the learning process of snipers under high-pressure situations. And that's not exactly an environment conducive to traditional learning. They utilized techniques to induce a flow state in these soldiers. The result? The trainee snipers in flow learned 230% faster than those in a normal state. Now just think about that. That's more than doubling their learning capacity, all thanks to the power of flow. And it's not just the military that's been enchanted by flow's promise. The corporate world, particularly at its highest echelons, has also felt its impact. The McKinsey Group, a globally renowned consulting firm, conducted a decade-long study on flow's influence on top-level executives. Their findings? C-suite executives who regularly tapped into flow states were 5 times more productive than their counterparts. Now, if we break that down, it means that these executives could accomplish in one day what would take others an entire work week. The implications for using flow as a method to increase corporate efficiency, innovation, and overall business performance are absolutely staggering. Now, these studies aren't just impressive statistics. They are a testament to flow's transformative potential in both specialized training environments and high-pressure corporate settings. It's clear that flow isn't just about feeling good. It's about achieving results that were once thought to be impossible. When you couple these real-world benefits with the emotional and cognitive boosts we've already discovered, it's hard not to get excited about incorporating flow into our daily lives. So whether you're a sniper in training, a corporate executive, or someone just trying to maximize their potential in whatever it is that they do, flow offers a scientifically backed avenue to elevate your game. So to wrap up today's enlightening journey into the world of flow, I want to bring us back to the essence of what it truly represents. Remember our initial dive into the waters of being in the zone? Well, now that you're equipped with deeper knowledge and a scientific backbone, I want you to think of the endless possibilities that this state holds for you. Flow, my friend, is more than just a passing phenomenon. It is a universal language of peak performance and profound joy that every one of us has the capacity to speak. From the sharpshooter aiming with laser focus to the executive making game-changing decisions, flow is the thread that binds exceptional achievements. Flow is our master tool, our secret weapon in crafting extraordinary experiences and outcomes from ordinary moments. I encourage you to incorporate flow into your daily practices, be it through mindful meditations, focused tasks, or simply being present in the moment. And remember, whether you're a professional athlete, a parent trying to juggle a dozen tasks, a musician lost in the rhythm, or a martial artist in the heat of combat, flow is the wind beneath your wings, elevating you to heights you've only dreamt of. To quote Csikszentmihalyi, the pioneer behind this powerful concept, the best moments in our lives are not the passive, receptive, relaxing times. The best moments usually occur if a person's body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. So dare to stretch, dare to challenge, and dare to flow. Step into this wondrous realm and watch as barriers dissolve, potentials expand, and life itself transforms into a beautiful dance of joy, purpose, and unparalleled performance. So until next time, keep riding the waves of flow, and remember, it is what it is, but it becomes what you make it. So make it great. Thanks for tuning in. Before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that the information shared in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional advice or treatment. While the content of this podcast is based on research and personal experience, everyone's situation is unique, and the advice given may not be applicable to all. Always consult a qualified professional before making significant changes in your life. The Personal Mastery and Growth podcast is recorded at the So Good Media Studios, located in the Candy Factory, a co-working space in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.